Nick Gallo, OKCThunder.com. You guys had the late flurry of steals and pressure and buckets in transition. What are those moments like out there on the floor when it's kind of frantic and exciting?
Yeah, it's I mean, that's what kind of sparks our offense when we're defensively, when we amp the pressure up. And I think we left it probably too late to do that. We started running, trapping, getting steals, and we looked great, you know, in the open court, getting layups, getting scores. And I think if we did that a bit earlier in that fourth, it could have, you know, sparked that comeback a bit earlier. But we left it late. We did a good job of clawing the game back. Got it to, I think, a 2-possession game with maybe 2 minutes left. They made some big shots. You know, that's what they do. That's why they're one of the best teams in the league. But I think for the most part, in that second half, we played hard. We competed really well, went toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in the league. So a lot to like from that game.
And then just tell me about the tip to Baisley on the jump ball and how that whole sequence went down.
Yeah, well, I knew, well, I didn't know, but I thought Wiggs was probably going to win that tip. And he tipped it right to where, you know, they had 2 guys waiting, and I kind of got around and I saw, you know, Looney came to get the ball and Baze is wide open. So I kind of tipped it to him, and he knew right away that there was a second on the shot clock, so he had to get it up. So I just read the play, you know, before they threw the ball up.
Paris Lawson, OKCThunder.com. Josh, you guys had 18 offensive rebounds tonight. And obviously there was that one, you know, stretch where you guys had 5 in a row. But throughout the night, just how are you guys able to be so effective on the offensive glass?
Yeah, I mean, the more O-boards you can get, you know, the more chances you have to score. And I think, you know, that one possession, Faith had a bunch of them. We didn't, did we score off that? We got a putback dunk, right? Yeah. I mean, just like that, keeping possessions alive, it gives us extra chances to score. So especially when they went to that small ball lineup, we're probably a bit bigger and we could get on the boards a bit more. So we got a lot of guys, athletic wings, Baze, K-Rich, to get on the glass for us and get a second chance points. So the more we can do that, the better it's going to be for our offense.
Andrew Schlecht of The Athletic. Big crowd tonight. A lot of Warriors fans in the crowd. I'm just curious your thoughts on just the crowd overall.
Yeah, there was almost more Warriors fans than Thunder fans. And when I was there 90 minutes before the game warming up, the whole Warrior side was packed. And I mean, that's just the attention they bring. Steph, Clay, the guys they've got. So it's an awesome atmosphere to play in, you know, in front of their fans and our fans tonight.
And then you've gotten to see this team a few times now. Like, do you feel more comfortable playing against them? You know, what was it like out there tonight?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you play, you know, the same team a few times, you kind of, you know, become familiar with how they play. And I mean, everyone knows how Golden State plays, but it's a really tough team to stop. They're moving constantly. They got so many weapons. So, you know, you play help defense there, you know, you miss one assignment, they're making you pay for it. So tough team to play against. I think we did a good job for the most part, making them take tough shots. Lou did an awesome job on Steph. You know, great players like that are going to make tough shots, but it's about making, you know, life hard for them over the course of 48 minutes. And I think tonight we did a good job of that. As I said, they made some big shots down the stretch, but for the most part, I think defensively we were pretty switched on.
And then what's going through your head at the end of the game when you're kind of ISO'd on Steph there and Steph hits that 3?
I mean, I don't even know. Like, I just try not to let him score. I mean, as I said, they make tough shots. You know, I try to contest it best I can, but he's been doing that for years. I mean, if I did it again, I'd probably play the exact same defense I played, just contesting with the hands. And he makes shots like that all the time.
Joe Masato, the Oklahoman. Josh, Mark said that he wants to sort of limit your minutes around the 30-minute mark where you were tonight. And he said that you guys have talked about that. Just how do you feel about that? And also just where you are physically in your rookie season?
Yeah, we spoke about that. And obviously being a long season, this is double the amount of games I've ever played in the season already. And we understand it's a long season with guys out. So we don't want to, you know, throw me under the bus and throw me out there for so many minutes, just kind of asking for an injury or something to happen. So, you know, we've spoke about it, being smart, just kind of keeping my minutes within check. But yeah, but we're both on the same page with that.
Anybody else in the room? All right, Josh, we have one on the Zoom. Barry Trammell, go ahead with your question, Barry.
Yeah, Josh, Barry Trammell from the Oklahoman. Kuminga, you and Kuminga went back-to-back in the NBA draft back in the summer. You've had a great rookie year. He's starting to play really well. Do you sort of have a kinship with the guys that you were drafted with? Do you follow them more closely than maybe the rest of the league?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, the answer is yes. I do probably watch a lot more rookies than other guys around the league, just to, you know, the guys I've kind of not grown up watching, but kind of been familiar with, just being in the same draft class. And getting that chance at, in New York for the draft week, getting to know some of them. So, yeah, I've been keeping an eye, and Kuminga was really good tonight. I mean, obviously, the situations are a bit different for us. He's on a championship contender. I'm on a, rebuilding team. So, but the minutes he's gotten, he's been very productive. So he was pretty good tonight. Thank you.
Coach, we'll go room and then we'll take the Zoom after that.
Nick Gallo, OKCthunder.com. What stood out to you the most about just the fight, the hunger that you saw on second chances and the defense down the stretch?
Yeah, I thought, especially in the second half, we really competed and did it together. Could have executed better all night. That's a really tough game because their style is so different from the other 29 teams. So you see kind of the same things over and over again. And then just because of the force of their personnel, you're dealing with something different. And so it's an acquired skill to play against that team. And I thought we, certainly can learn a lot execution wise, but the competitive level was where it needed to be, especially in the second half. I thought we slipped a little bit in the second quarter, but to the guys' credit, we came out of halftime and got the car back on the road from that standpoint.
And what'd you think of the execution of the jump ball play in the first quarter? Or maybe it was second.
Short clock, yeah.
Short clock.
It was good.
Thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's savvy. I mean, those guys are situationally aware. It's part of the game. There's games are 2 hours and 10 minutes and the ball's live for 48 minutes. And so there's, hour and 20 minutes or so where you can be engaged and you want to be winning those minutes. And the way to do it is to be present and be aware. And, to our credit in that situation, we did it.
Paris Lawson, OKCthunder.com. Darius, 20 points for him, but 8 rebounds. Seemed like there were a lot of really competitive, kind of feisty plays for him on that end of the floor. Just what did you see from him tonight?
Yeah, he was in there. He was competing. And I just give him credit. He's guarding Thompson to start the game. And we kept Thompson pretty quiet tonight till the last, 2 minutes of the game. And then he's moving to the 5, and playing pick and roll coverage. And we're like toggling him, between those things. And for him to be able to do that to the level that he does it is pretty impressive. He just keeps getting better, more alert, more focused. And offensively, obviously, he had a good night as well.
Andrew Schlecht of The Athletic. Just curious on your thoughts on the types of shots that Josh is taking and if there's maybe any adjustments that he can make. And then just curious why he only got 30 minutes tonight.
Yeah. So the minutes thing with where we are on the schedule right now, that's by design. That's a collaborative conversation with him included. It's not a hard cap, but we're definitely aware of our schedule right now. A lot of travel condensed. There's no 2 days off. Everybody's dealing with something. And we're just at a point right now where, we're not going to let him get away from us there. So we're going to keep him somewhat in that range, plus or minus in the next couple games. And then shots he's taking. I'm pretty trusting of his like IQ feel, not just with the passing, just like game feel. I think with a player like that, you've got to let him have some space to explore and figure out boundaries and stuff. I think he probably got a little aggressive with a couple tonight, but it's competitiveness. He in Sacramento, we were on that run. We're on the break. The ball sprays out to him and he kind of rips the 3 and he hits it and they call timeout. I give him credit for the fearlessness of that. And I just think over time with his intelligence, he's going to figure out like a really good balance of like aggression and game flow. And I think the most powerful way for a guy to get to that is kind of on their own. So I don't really micromanage him there with that or with his, on ball decision making. I micromanage his defense.
Yeah. And then on Trey, Steph is kind of like the ultimate example of what a guy like Trey could be. Do you guys like watch tape of other players and kind of show him maybe what other guys have or what he could be? And maybe is Steph like an example that you use?
I've watched one film edit of another player with Trey. Josh was in the room. I'm not telling you who the player was, but it was a really good offensive player who at the end of a game this season was put in the action by the opponent 10 straight possessions to close the game. Really good offensive player. And the opponent was calling the guy up the whole night. And I was basically illustrating why we're so hell-bent on those guys fundamentally and defensively, because if that's happening to you, you either need to hold up in those situations or we can't play you. And that's an important lesson for those guys to learn. So I think he is studying up. I think DA works with him, and I think they're watching some offensive stuff, but he's seen one edit with me of another player, and that was it.
Joe Masato, the Oklahoman. Just to follow up on Paris's question about Darius, but more on the offensive side, he tied his season high in scoring tonight. Did you like the looks that he was getting offensively?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's shot the three well lately. I don't know what the stretch of games is, but more of those are going in. He's taken pretty predictable ones, open ones. They're good shots. The driving, he's doing a nice job. He's getting fouled a little bit. And I think this is the best I've seen him at the balance of like playing downhill with some force and also sometimes just breaking it off and getting it to a teammate and setting a pick and roll and like putting somebody else in an advantage or trying to create some action with someone else. Early, I think he was probably over aggressive. Then he kind of swung the other way and he was probably just like facilitating a little too much. And he seems to be like easing into a nice balance of those things. But like I've said before, the Josh question with the shots, the Baisley driving, the balance of like aggression and then functionality is like really hard for players to get to. And I think you just got to stick with them, educate them, give them a little bit of space to figure it out, correct them when it's a little too far. And he's in a nice spot right now.
And then whenever the Warriors are in town, it's obviously a big spectacle. Everyone, it was a big crowd tonight. Just wanted to get your thoughts on the environment and playing in front of that loud of a crowd.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about the game is really good for our team. The best thing for our team is playing against a quality of opponent that requires, like, if you're going to win that game, you have to really compete like crazy. You have to really do it together and you have to really execute. And like, that's really hard to do. And even when you do that against that team, they can still get you. And so great experience for our team, a lot to be learned from that. And like I've said before, if you're not playing against the best teams, there can be a lot of noise, in what you can take away from the game, but everything in a game like that against a team like that is relevant.
Anybody else in the room? All right, let's take the Zoom. Barry Trammell, you have a question. Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, Mark, Giddey and Kuminga went back to back in the draft last summer. You clearly got to be thrilled with Giddey, but what you see out of Kuminga as a prospect and what you see out of him, particularly tonight, he seems to have sort of found a niche with the Warriors.
Yeah, he's done a really nice job. I think one of the hardest things, in that situation is they're obviously a really, really good team that is positioned where they were in the draft. And, he's trying to establish himself in the league and he's probably got a vision of what he'd like to be. And yet he's on a team that it requires him to play a pretty narrow role right now. And I think he's benefiting from that. And I think long-term, he's probably sacrificing a little bit of, short-term, whatever you'd call it. But long-term, I think it's good for him. And like you said, we're thrilled that we have Josh and we're really happy with the way that his season has gotten off to a start and the same thing with his career. And so this is obviously a really good draft class that is only going to continue to get better. It's hard to bet against any of these guys at this point.
And then we'll go to Daniel Bell for the last question. Go ahead, Daniel. What's your question?
Yeah, Coach. Lou's aggressiveness and confidence has gone up a little bit the last 5 or so games. Have you? And I know he had that stretch at the beginning of the season or in the middle or earlier in the season. But have you seen a difference between his aggression and his confidence lately?
Not a ton, to be honest with you. He kind of just exists in this space competitively. That's pretty, he's a wild competitor. He just is out there and he's lost in the competition. He's always been like that. Even offensively, dating back to his rookie year, he had a couple games where he really popped and he was really aggressive. It's always been impressive to see, his confidence. It's hard when you have success and failure to maintain that level of confidence. That's the same thing I'm talking about with Josh. I mean, when you have players that are kind of leaning into the fight like that, it's really encouraging. And so obviously those guys have a lot to learn. They can do different things to help be more efficient and help us function more. And they certainly aren't finished products, but when they're starting from a place of confidence and fearlessness, that's a good place to start.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys.
Players next.
Nick Gallo, OKCthunder.com. Lou, can you just describe the feelings there as you're making that charge, that comeback, pressuring full court? What's that like out there?
It was good. I felt like it's, it was I was there in front of him. He kind of dipped his shoulder into me, and I mean, I was just like a good play for the team. And I feel like it brought a lot of momentum. And then we was getting into a lower round, so I feel like it was good.
And then I think you guys had 4 offensive rebounds on one play. Your putback dunk. Just describe that sequence.
And it was grinding. It was competing. We won that game, and it was just good to be able to dominate the paint like that. To Big Fave got a lot. He's a big guy down there. He's credit to him. So I feel like it was just grinding the whole time, and I just went up for the last one and dunked it.
Paris Lawson, OKCthunder.com, just kind of going off of that question. You guys finished the game with 18 offensive rebounds tonight, and it seemed like everybody was really able to get into that action on the offensive glass. Just why was that so important? Was that an emphasis for you guys tonight?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we knew that they wasn't really big in the paint. I feel like they wasn't really big in the paint. That we could use that to our advantage. So, I mean, the guys fought hard in the paint. Just trying to dig a lot of rebounds.
Joe Masato, the Oklahoman. Lou, how did the mask feel? What was it like playing in that?
It was a little weird at first. I feel like it's something I still got to get used to. I just get really hot. My skin's hot in my whole face during the game. So, I mean, it's I fractured my nose, so I got to wear it. So I just got to get used to it.
Is that something that you like put on earlier in warmups, just knowing how it feels, or just like what's the process of even wearing that, knowing what it's going to feel like?
Well, today was my first time having a mask, so before the game, my pregame shooting, I had it on and I was just trying to feel it, and then it went good.
Do you know how long you have to wear it?
For a couple games, I don't know exactly.
Thanks.
Andrew Schleck to The Athletic. The trade deadline's Thursday. I'm just curious how much you're paying attention to, maybe not what's going on with the Thunder specifically, but just league wide, like, trade rumors and stuff like that. Do you guys talk about that? Like talk about stuff like that amongst the team, or do you guys follow that kind of stuff?
I don't really pay attention to that. I mean, we have a goal here, and it's to compete every night. And I feel like it's been our main focus the whole year. So we haven't really talked about that in the locker room.
Anybody else in the room? Nobody on Zoom? Thanks, Luke. That's a wrap.